Hey guys, I want to do a video of kind of working out different examples on the using the difference quotient. We talked about it a little bit in class. I just kind of want to run through just the three different examples that you might run into, and the different techniques that you're going to have to use in order to solve them. So I have the formula here: f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So the big thing is we have to kind of do this in two parts. We need to figure out first what is f of x plus h, and then we need to then figure out, just using our original function, just f of x, and that should be able to help us kind of solve the problem. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is just a polynomial. All right, so I'm going to let f of x be 3x squared minus 4x plus 5. Okay. So what we're just trying to do is we need to first figure out what is f of x plus h. Okay. So anywhere I see an x term in my original function, I'm going to replace with x plus h. Okay. So here I have 3x squared. So instead of x squared, I'm going to have x plus h squared. Okay. So that variable gets replaced with x plus h. And then I'm going to do the next variable as well with x plus h, and then plus 5. Okay, so I've rewritten the original equation, but every variable now got replaced with x plus h. Okay, so now what I need to do is now I'm going to subtract the original function. So 3x squared minus 4x plus 5. Okay, and now I'm going to keep the entire thing over h. All right, so all we need to do now is just kind of simplify. All right, so now I have 3x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 4x minus 4h plus 5 minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. All right, and then again, if I distribute again, I have 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared minus 4x minus 4h plus 5 minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And that all is over 1h. Okay. Now, like I told you guys in class, if you do this properly, you should have things cancel out with one another. Okay, so I see 3x squared can go away. I see that negative 4x and positive 4x can go away, and then 5 and negative 5. Okay, so if you do this properly, everything that you have left, okay, which is these terms here, okay, each of those terms should have an h term with it. And the reason for that is because you eventually want to factor and cancel something out. So you have now 6xh plus 3h squared minus 4h divided by h. Okay, so now on the top you can take out an h term. Okay, so that's 6x plus 3h minus 4 all over h. Okay, and again I can cancel out the h terms there. All right, and now your final answer, 6x plus 3h minus 4. Okay, and that is your answer. All right, so again, I took my time, followed the formula, and that's how I came up with the answer. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. All right, I'm going to drag it over here so that I can do my next problem. Okay, so I have now another example, a little bit different function. Okay, so I have a rational function now. So f of x is now 2 divided by x minus 1. All right. So this, again, we talked about it like in the first chapter, different algebra techniques that we might have to use this year. And getting rid of your complex fractions, that's going to be one that you're going to have to use here. Okay. So try to eliminate complex fraction. Okay, so before we do that, though, we need to do our setup. So again, you're doing the first part, f of x plus h. So anywhere I see an x term, in this case I only have one x term, I'm going to replace with x plus h. Okay, so you have 2 divided by x plus h minus 1. Okay, so that is now f of x plus h. Right, and then I'm going to subtract f of x. Okay, so that's 2 over x minus 1. Right, and now the entire thing is going to be over 1h. Okay, so I see that I have two fractions here. I have 2 over x plus h minus 1, and then 2 over x minus 1. Then I need to get rid of those denominators. Okay, so I need to multiply by something that'll help me get rid of those denominators, right? So you need to find your kind of like your common denominator between the two of them. All right, so in this case, it's going to be x plus h minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, so you're going to multiply that on the top and the bottom. Okay, now when I do this, right, the big important thing you have to remember is that you don't want to multiply the denominator out. Okay, you only want to multiply the terms out in the numerator. Okay, and the reason that you don't multiply the denominator out is because, again, you're trying to get that h term to somehow go away. Okay, and I'll show you that once we get closer to it. Okay, so again, I'm going to put this here. Do not multiply denominator out. Okay. All right, so we're going to just do it term by term. So we're going to take these two terms and multiply it here. Okay. Now when I multiply it to that first fraction, x plus h minus 1 is going to be canceled. Okay. And then you're going to be left with, I'll show you what I mean. So you'll have 2 times x plus h minus 1 times x minus 1 over x plus h minus 1 on the bottom. Okay. And then on the second one, again, you're going to have 2 times x plus h minus 1 times x minus 1 over x minus 1. Okay? And then your entire denominator now is going to be h times x plus h minus 1 times x minus 1. All right? Now again, I can cancel some things now. So this one can go away. Okay, and then this one can go away. All right. So now what I'm left with is I have 2 times x plus x minus 1 minus 2 times x plus h minus 1. Okay, so that's your new numerator, and then on the bottom, again, I'm not gonna multiply these terms out. All right, so now I just want to multiply the top out, so I have 2x minus 2 minus 2x minus 2h plus 2, okay, over my denominator now. All right, and you should see, okay, I can cancel some more things out, so 2x and 2x can go away, and then 2 and 2 can go away. All right, so now I'm left with negative 2h over h times x plus h minus 1, x minus 1. All right? And again, I can now cancel out my h term here and my h term here. So you're now left with your final answer of -2 over x plus h minus 1, x minus 1. Okay, so again, that's why you don't want to multiply that denominator out, because again, you're trying to get things to cancel. You're trying to get that single h term to get crossed out. Okay. And all right, so we're gonna do one more. Okay. So now this one is going to be with a square root. So f of x is now square root of x plus 1. Okay. And one of the techniques that we talked about in the first chapter was multiplying out by a conjugate. Okay. So this is what's going to be asked of you whenever you have a square root. Okay. Okay. So you must multiply by conjugate. Okay, now again, before you get there, you need to do your setup. Okay, so the first part you're going to do is f of x plus h. Okay, so that's going to be x plus h plus 1. All right, so that's f of x plus h. And then you're going to subtract f of x, which is that. And then the whole thing is going to be over 1h. Okay, so that's your original setup. All right, so again, we need to multiply out by our conjugates because again, we're trying to get these square roots to again eliminate. All right. So the conjugate now of the top, right, is going to be the square root of x plus h plus 1 plus the square root of x plus 1. Okay, so it's just the opposite of your numerator. Okay, so what I have inside the square root stay the same. The only thing that is changing is the sign in the middle going from a negative to a positive. Okay, and the same rule is going to apply for this one that it did for the rational function. Do not multiply the denominator out. Okay, so now again we're going to try and simplify. So when I do square root of x plus h plus 1 times the square root of x plus h plus 1, I'm left with just x plus h plus 1. All right, my middle terms are going to cancel out because they're opposite signs. And then the last one you're going to have is again x square root of x plus 1 times the square root of x plus 1, which is minus x plus 1. Okay, so the big thing you guys have to remember when you do these is you want to keep your signs straight. So that's why I recommend that you use parentheses as much as you can. Okay, and then on the bottom we have now h times the square root of x plus h plus 1 plus x plus 1, like that. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to simplify the top. Okay, so I'll rewrite that before we do that. So you have x plus h plus 1 minus x minus 1 all over h times x plus h plus 1 plus square root of x plus 1. All right, so again, I'm going to look to get rid of things. So this x and this x can go away, and this 1 and this 1 can go away as well. All right, so now I have h divided by h times x plus h plus 1 plus square root of x plus 1. And again, I'm going to eliminate my h terms here. So my final answer is going to be 1 divided by square root of x plus h plus 1 plus x plus 1. All right, and that is your answer. All right, so those three are three different examples that you guys might see a lot come up. Again, you got to just remember to use the different algebra techniques that we've been talking about, and you should be good to go. If you have any questions, please come and see me.